welcome. This is Politics Today. Hapa tunachapa siasa. My name is JONAH SIMBA. And my sign language interpreter is Irene Chebiwot. By the way, nimekuja kujua my name ni letter J. Kituka hiyo. We have a guest. Nicholas Oyo. Hi.
Pleasure, Jonah.
Secretary General.
Free Kenya. Yeah.
Kenya kwa mwaka wa kwanza. By the way, I'm bringing you here. How have you been? Umeshindaje?
Tuko sawa.
Yes.
Moja, we seem to be going to a referendum. Everybody seems to be confirming.
Last week, sorry. Come on, last year. Last week, we had a group from Kibera here. And we are talking about climate change. Wow. Tulifunzwa hapa. Stories are carbon credit, carbon footprints, carbon markets.
Yeah.
We were taught about climate change and many other things about climate.
Yeah. Climate ni kitu we need to deal with because you can see how things have changed.
Morocco. Na umesikia East Libya. I saw something like a flood in East Libya. Did I see it correctly?
It's happening across the country. Morocco had
across the continent.
A very serious earthquake.
Yes.
It's very unfortunate.
2,681 people dead.
And so many others are missing. So
yes.
The number is expected to rise.
Yeah.
Tunawaombea tu. Unajua earthquake ni hiyo ndio tunaita act of God.
Okay.
Yeah.
Act of God. And then East Libya kumetokea na floods.
Yeah, very funny that you can get floods in places like those. We never knew.
Those are Sahara deserts, ndio?
Yeah,
kama hiyo.
Sahara desert. But you know, Jonah, ukisoma history ya kitambo sana, wachana na hii tunaambiwa ya 2000 years. Ya kitambo sana.
Yes.
Wanasema ati Sahara desert was green at one point. So
maybe
imeanza kurecover
wakati dinosaurs zilikuwa.
Okay. Dini yake, mamaji yake ile ilikuwa nayo. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So is it hot out there? Is it raining? Nasikia nini mahindi imerudi chini. I had the CS Susan Nahumicha speaking yesterday akisema she was in Kitale. By the way, that's also my hometown.
Okay.
What's your hometown?
Kisumu.
Seme. Okay. I come from Trans Nzoia and it's interesting. She said that imefika 80 bob per gorogoro. Do you know what gorogoro is?
Gorogoro, yeah, ila kupima. Yes. I know these things down.
So it's 80 bob. And I almost felt like shifting to the counties there. Is it by design or kuna kitu hapa? Is it nature at work or is it Ruto at work?
Let's hope it is Ruto at work. Let's hope it is government that does that. Because if it's not, then we expect things to change without us knowing. You know, government, when you do government, is about planning your 5 years and planning another 5 years. So let's hope it is government. I've not heard them claim, though Susan tried to claim it, but they've not really been. I had expected them to be so powerful about claiming those the positives, but they didn't seem to. So maybe we need to know if it is them who are doing that. Then it's at least something.
And she spoke about UHC and universal health coverage manenos. Is that some of the wins of the Kenya Kwanza government? Are we properly on the right track in terms of Mambo's health?
We are still going to have a fit...
Because there's been a change. They want to change NHIF to social health something?
Yes, and also they're saying that we need to do primary curative.
Yes.
We live from curative to preventive, which is a good thing to do. The only thing that I would have a problem with is that when they start doing these things, they should also stick to the constitutional edits. Because you see, the problem that we have is that when national government comes and begins to do things that are supposed to be county, healthcare is under the county. National government is supposed to give policy. So we don't expect them to come to the ground and then start to implement these things. So if they're hiring the extension, call it the medical extension.
I had the community health promoter.
Health promoters,
Yes, that's
so
what they want to come up with.
People,
yes.
This is supposed to be a county function. So really, I hope that we don't get into fights about these things. But I don't know why county and national government cannot sit on the table and discuss. Because again, Jonah, the constitution allows you can have a discussion and agree on how to do it together. So I don't understand why it must be that you just wake up one morning and you take a function and you run with it, and the other person begins to complain. And you know, we have already committed funds to counties to do healthcare. So you get into a situation where even some counties will hire theirs, and then there's be national government people, you know, this wastage and what have you. So let's hope that that doesn't happen.
Okay.
But we are on the right track if we are talking about preventive as opposed to curative. Then that means that we are changing the engagement to be that we are going to start working on prevention. That's a good thing. We need to acknowledge where it is said that. We have always said for a long time, as people in the healthcare, in the human rights space, we have always insisted that it should be preventive.
When you talk about people in the human rights space, I saw Omtata with his group yesterday in court, and they were saying they had a meeting not over the stronger drinks, but over chai. And they were back to court.
Yes. You know, people didn't understand when they heard that Omtata lost at the Supreme Court. The issue that went to the Supreme Court was a question of the implementation of the Finance Bill 2023,
right?
Which, according to the courts so far now, all the courts have allowed it to continue being implemented as the case continues. So that is what was reason all the way, escalated all the way to the Supreme Court, and where he lost that. But then the case on the Finance Bill continues, because there are issues, Jonah. If you talk about the Finance Bill, it's supposed to be a money bill. You call it a money bill.
Right.
So a money bill is supposed to be a bill that basically talks about the money, how we are going to get the monies, what we are going to use, how we are going to spend it, where it's going to be spent, which vote head is being taken. So those are the things that the Finance Bill is supposed to be about. But then you find that this one had something like that housing levy. Housing levy should have been introduced as a different bill altogether that comes and deals with the question of levies. So that's those are some of the issues that are a problem there. We can't talk much about the court case. It's still going on. But those are the issues that were coming up.
Yeah, and then there was this issue of budgeted corruption. It kept coming up. Money is borrowed and then used for recurrent expenditure. I didn't understand why everyone there was saying that is against the constitution. You cannot borrow money for recurrent expenditure.
The only allowable use of money when it is borrowed is supposed to be development. So you are supposed to borrow money only to do development work. So now what happens, if you have to do recurrent, then you are allowed to do it for maybe a year, and you recover it from the next financial year. So really, there is a way that the constitution basically regulates that, so that you don't get into a situation where you are borrowing money to pay people's salaries, to pay for vehicles and what have you. So Jonah, if we are talking about 1 year of this government, one of the things that I would critique this government about is the issue about austerity. We have not seen what could you could say the austerity government. You have not seen a Ruto austerity person. He started and he said that there's going to be saving of 300 billion. And he said everybody has to pull their to tighten their belts. And then somehow we don't know if this saving happened and where it has been taken to. Because you see, if you save the money, then take it and tell us this is the money we've saved, and now we are putting it here and there. So Jonah, you remember the days of Passats and what have you? And even Passat for me was a question that we should really have questioned because it's supposed to be any vehicle that is 2000 cc. So you would have expected those are the things. We had a few of it when there was a question.
Even on the budget day, there's a vehicle, I think it's a Passat. that was used
Yeah,
to,
the
and
finance,
and it's never used. It's only used on the day of the
the Ministry of Finance has a behavior of pretending that it is and then they declare some funny budgets.
Yes.
It has become like a tradition that you come with a Passat and you come with that kasanduku briefcase, and then now you show us, and then you go to the house, and then you read
back to your fuel guzzlers.
Serious budgets for us. And now, Jonah, shock on us. We are hearing issues about an 18%, 16% to 18% rise
borrowing.
of VAT.
Okay, the government borrowed some more at that rate. 17%.
They've been borrowing, and the borrowing is going on. One of the promises, Jonah, that was there, a very clear promise that everybody who is living in this country must remember, was that they said that mambo ya kuomba pesa na kukopa pesa itaisha.
Yes.
I'm shocked that we are still borrowing. Somebody would have argued that about 6 months after you come in, you would borrow to do what is called a surge. You know, a surge, Jonah, is when you say that I want to remove troops.
Yes.
People who saw what's happening in Afghanistan, or even people withdrawing from Iraq, if people can remember that.
Yes.
The army is, first of all, you take more people, and then you deal with the issues that you must deal with, so that when you leave, problems don't continue. So if that was a borrowing they're talking about, that should have ended in 3 to 6 months. So really, when you end up having a situation that the borrowing continues, and this government has been said to have borrowed more than what the other government borrowed within a year. So really, we are ending towards the same borrowing that we were having in the other government.
So it's like it's a government working on taxation and borrowing. But really, do they have a choice?
I think they do, Jonah, and they should have listened to Free Kenya when we tell them, Jonah, that they need to
what choice do they have? Because it seems like to keep the country moving, they just have to work on more taxation and more borrowing.
Jonah, the moment you continue to borrow and to do taxation and take it higher and higher, there's a saturation of taxation. There's a point that you overtax people to a point that people can't live anymore. And people will begin to run away from your taxes. People will begin to stop consuming. People will begin to do other things. You've heard that the fuel, people have changed their behavior in vehicles. And people are now using other means of ensuring that they don't spend more in fuel. So if you had budgeted...
we had a push and pull with you, whether you are driving to the studio or... I can't forget you telling me it's cheaper.
And I finally had to use the public means eventually.
Oh my,
So Jonah, it's
interesting.
It's a push that every person has.
This is how close it has come to us.
Every time you want to go somewhere, now you have to think about the fuel costs. And it is sad that we are facing this scenario, Jonah. If they had listened to what some of us were saying, remove taxes on basic and essential commodities, and you will find a lot of people being able to run their businesses and being able to pay more taxes. But the moment you begin to create a scenario where it's like the tax now has become it's chasing you around every corner. Every time you do something, tax. Every time you take a corner, tax. Every time you go and buy anything, there's tax. So Kenyans have now begun to be tax aware. And the problem is that, Jonah, people begin to get shortcuts when you begin to put more and more taxation.
Right.
So people disappear, people begin to run away from evading taxes, and you end up not getting what you thought you would get. You end up going to even collect more further. So what happens is that that's one way of getting into problems. And I would advise, if I'm not an economist, but I would advise, and I hope people like David D, and you should call him here one day to tell you if this taxation I
hope he's listening
from their advice, or where is it coming from?
Right.
Yeah, because taxation, there is a limit to taxation. You can't do so much taxation. You must begin to think, how do you grow people so that these people become people who you can bring into the tax bracket?
Okay.
Yeah, otherwise you lose everyone.
Raila Odinga and Azimio, bipartisan talks.
And the bipartisan talks.
And the demonstrations. These have characterized President William Ruto's first year. This has been found in the Kenya Kwanza first year of leadership. Has everyone now agreed that, hey, we are here, Kenya Kwanza is the government? Because amongst the things that were to be done on that list was the audit of the elections.
The election process, yeah.
I had somebody say yesterday, I can't remember who that was, but he was from the Azimio leadership, and he said the reason why we want to audit is not really to question whether Ruto is the president or not, is to deal with the future so that we seal the gaps of, theft
More
of votes.
problems of elections.
Exactly.
And Jonah, I support the audit first and even changes in the electoral processes.
Right.
Jonah, some of us have proposed some changes in the electoral processes. We hope that this will carry the day somewhere, because Jonah, we can't continue this way. We can't continue that every election, Jonah,
Right.
if you were to win by one vote, it becomes a problem. Your win is so much in doubt that problems are always rising every time.
Yes.
So we have to reach a point, Jonah, that if you win by one vote, it will be seen that Jonah has beaten Oyo by one vote, and Jonah is now the person who is taking office, and Oyo has to wait for another 5 years to get his chance.
So should
That is really
Raila
something.
wait? Should Raila wait? Is
The
he a bit?
reality is, if
Yes.
they are doubting that these elections were free and fair, then there becomes a problem. But then we must reach a point, and for us, Jonah, and this is not about the bipartisan. As Kenyans, we must get to a point that we do changes and restructuring of the electoral process to ensure that we don't get into this mess ever again. We need to get to a point that anybody who is elected clearly, John. We don't have this scenario where, and there are countries, even in Africa here, Ghana, there was a time an election was decided by 23,000 votes.
Right.
23,000, Jonah, that's a constituency. That's
Yeah.
one constituency alone. That would have been a fight in this country.
Yeah, I remember 2007.
Yeah,
The margin was so slim.
And you can imagine they still elected the leader, and the other person agreed, and life continued. So we really need to get to a point that we make sure that if you win by 2, 3, 4, 5 votes, it's clear that it can be seen that it is 3, 4, 5 votes that have put you into the place.
Now they are talking. Obviously, the audit of the elections
Yeah.
has been the major issue in this 1 year. Are you seeing it happening as KK moves into the second year of its governance? And by the way, sorry, proceed.
I would really advise that it happens, that an audit happens. This audit even doesn't have to be done by themselves alone. They can have their people, they can have other people. But let's look for international independent organs or organizations to basically lead this audit, so that the audit of the elections, as they're saying, we can agree that even if we find that there was questions, then we have already gone past what we need to deal with the question of the presidency. It has already been decided that who is the president of this country. So the other issue should have been, how do we now deal with the problems that we get?
So in case they open the servers and they find Vifaranga, quote unquote, you don't see cases coming up about legitimacy?
The cases, the time has already passed for cases. The one for the presidency passes after Supreme Court makes a decision. You can't go back to that. The other ones, we have 6 months. They're still, I think, they should be still on the way, but they are almost there. So you get into a situation where now cases in the electoral process are given 6 months for them to be sorted. Because, Jonah, the mischief used to be that permanently in an electoral court all the way, and then somebody makes a decision that I actually was elected wrongly, and I've eaten the salary for the last 4 years, and then somebody now comes for 1 year, and he was the one who needed to have been elected, who rightly was elected. So the decision to finalize the electoral processes in about 6 months was basically taken through by that, made by that understanding. that we don't want a situation that you have served wrongly for too long. We should deal with the question and finalize it.
Is there chemistry still about this bipartisan talk? Both the Azimio and the Kenya Kwanza groups, is there the chemistry for the talks? And by the way, before I forget it, the Deputy President, Dr. Rigathi Gachagua, said something akin to the talks that are happening. It's like a waste of time. Is he alone? Is he in sync with is the chemistry there?
The chemistry definitely is there. We've seen
yes.
the Azimio side, even the former Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka, who is leading the Azimio side,
right,
even visit State House and even acknowledge that the president is Ruto for the first time. But Jonah, the question that some of us are really asking, and we are going to take drastic actions to see if it is done, Jonah.
Yeah.
We cannot have a situation of something called bipartisan talks. There are Kenyans in this country. There are not only two sides of Kenyans. There are so many Kenyans in this country that must participate in this process. Because the problem that you are facing is that if the two parties make a decision,
right,
then they bring it to the rest of Kenyans. What happens to other ideas that people had? Because Jonah, even if you took an election, the parties to an election are not only Azimio and Kenya Kwanza. There's even other small parties. There is independent candidates. So really the question of these talks working, as you've asked about the working. No, I don't agree with the Deputy President. All due respect, but I don't agree with him on some of the things that he says.
Yeah.
I think as a Deputy President, there is responsibility in the uttering of statements that you make. And it's I think a qualifier for a Deputy President really should begin to be what statement do we expect you to be making? Because there are some things, we are not restricting you, but there are some things if you continue saying, you can create problems in the country. And as that level where you are seated, it's not an easy thing to just talk anyhow. They may say that you have the freedom to say what you want to say, to speak your mind, you freedom of conscience and what have you. But then, Jonah, there is responsibility coming with that. And the more you climb into leadership space, the more this responsibility goes higher. So really, I don't understand why he would be saying this. I don't know if that is a Kenya Kwanza position. I don't know. I would have expected William Ruto to say something. He never said anything.
No. Actually, what is coming out is that what the president is saying is not exactly what the deputy is saying. And being in the media sector and also being a Kenyan, those are things that come out very clearly. When you see Uhuru and Ruto walking in the same suit, speaking the same language, it talks. But now when you see two presidents, when you see a president and his deputy speaking totally different things, is there something cooking? You know, for the media, we get a bit.
Let's hope it's not roasting bad meat for us, or bad air for us. Jonah, we really, somebody compared this 1 year to 1 year of NAC. NAC was one of the governments that we really went and really supported and ensured it's in and all that stuff. But within a year, they were fighting about the MOU. So there was push and pull within this year. By now, in NAC, there was push and pull. Uhuru's 1 year was a bit quiet, and it was still, the bromance was still there. But now this one, when you begin to see some cracks and what have you, I hope it's just the normal way of people cannot be the same completely. Let's hope that. But then you know that...
So the stresses started coming in the relationship.
Let's hope that. But let's hope it doesn't go so bad to a point that you're going to face the same scenario that you faced under the previous regime. When the deputy is speaking, the president is speaking on the other side and the deputy speaks on this side. Let's hope it doesn't go that far.
Right. And then, okay, 1 year, Kenya kwa mwaka wa kwanza. let's take
chini ya
this
uongozi wa William Samoei Ruto.
chini chini
Rais William Samoei Ruto.
chini ya uongozi. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I would like you to help us here. Are there 3 things that you can point out that were achievements in this 1 year? Really, honestly.
I would say that in this 1 year, the first achievement would be that we have not gone into fighting.
Right.
We are still there. No problem. At least there's peace in the country. Quote unquote, still the maandamano and what happened. But at least we are here. Second thing is that I think the government has achieved a few things in terms of raising the question of hustlers. We have seen loans have been taken. This is I'm getting from the government what they've communicated. Enough loans have been taken, so I hope that there's an impact there. We are waiting to hear what impact that has, because if it means that somebody who can survive on an economy of 2,000 or something, 500, they get support, it means that at least the very low grassroots is being taken care of.
Right.
The other thing that I would say is that we have seen bills passing, and parliament and government working. We have seen judiciary getting their way through, but then of course that's just one side of it. There is of course the problems that we have. Some of those bills have been questionable, and some of the things in judiciary, we hear that the judiciary fund now is not really working the way we had expected. But then those are things that we hope we can say that there's some achievement.
Yeah, and I'm surprised in those 3 things I've not had fertilizer.
We are still waiting.
Now
to hear
this
fertilizer. Sijakula mahindi ya fertilizer.
Has there been propaganda at play?
I'm not sure. I'm waiting to hear. I'm waiting to eat mahindi ya fertilizer.
By the way, what is propaganda? Try and explain to us. What is propaganda?
Propaganda is when you advance something that is negative, not always negative really, if you understand the law very well, I mean politics very well.
Yes.
But then propaganda has been generally taken as being negative, of creating an issue, an illusion about someone or something to create some negative energy around it. That's how I would explain it simply.
Yeah, so there's been a narrative around fertilizer. And then at one point, the media almost landed in trouble with one Moses Kuria. And I can't forget at Eldoret, you remember, during the county's devolution conference, there was a direct onslaught on the nation media by the president. Freedom of the media in the Kenya Kwanza at 1.
Very, 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 very serious that we're having this. We've not had this for a long time, Jonah.
Yes.
We've not had media being targeted directly.
Yes.
We hope that that doesn't continue. Let's hope that second year they learn to work with the media. Media is just part of you. It's just like family. When you have that young son who always knows how to do some things in a funny way, you have to allow yourself to know how to work with them. Yeah.
Okay. We are moving into the second year, and at this stage we are moving into the break. But the president has announced UDA elections. Are you aware? At the end of the year.
Yeah, even ODM is also facing
No. Major challenges on Friday. In fact, Raila changed the leadership of ODM for the first time.
I think 1 year begins to have issues. So maybe it's something we discuss in the second stage about it.
It's something
political parties in this country.
Yeah,
there is always volcanoes in these political parties and earthquakes and storms, and
there must be a reason why everyone now is focusing on their parties.
Yeah,
definitely.
Maybe it's to do with the talks. Maybe, I don't know.
Maybe that's now the strange thing about politics. It's a maybe. Viewers, hapa tunachapa siasa. We are talking about Kenya kwa mwaka wa kwanza. Kenya kwanza in its first year of governance in Kenya. See you after the break.